Hi, here I am, the man without the mask, and I'm going to be talking to you about atoms. I have a fun video from an influencer called Vsauce that's going to talk about why we never really touch each other and explain it in very complicated atom terms. But before I let you watch him, I just want to explain the three basic parts of every atom. And an atom, remember, is the smallest unit of matter. A unit means something that's collected. So even though it's uncuttable, it's a unit. So atoms are the smallest unit of matter. For my example, I'm going to use nickels to represent neutrons, and I'm going to use pennies to represent protons, and I'm going to use dimes to represent electrons, because all atoms have neutrons, protons, and electrons. And when you're talking about neutrons, protons, and electrons, protons and neutrons make up the middle of an atom. That's called the nucleus. And electrons, they orbit the nucleus. It's kind of complicated. And what I'm going to show you is flat. But atoms in real life are actually operating in 3 dimensions. And because, like planets orbit the sun and the way the moon orbits the earth, similarly, electrons orbit the nucleus of an atom, except they go around it all different ways and dart around it. So it's more of a cluster. And not only that, the space between them is so enormous that every atom itself is more empty space than it is actually neutrons, protons, and electrons. Anyway, here's a 2-dimensional model. First, I take my neutrons, which are my nickels, and I put them here so you can see them. And they're going to be forming my nucleus. They're all tight together. And here is my 4 neutrons. Now, clustered with my neutrons are 4 protons. When I say they're clustered, they're kind of all together with it. So there's my nucleus of neutrons and protons. Now, the atom I'm building here is called a lithium atom. Now, we'll go over this more when we do the periodic table. But a lithium atom actually has in its nucleus 4 neutrons, 4 protons, and then orbiting around it in actually 3 dimensions are electrons. So imagine this floating in the air with the electrons going all around it. So here are my electrons. There's 1, 2, 3. And now they're darting all around it all the time, like moving around it in 3 dimensions, and they're just going and orbiting, and it's like crazy time, and it just goes like that the whole time with the electrons just darting around. Now, the bigger problem here that I can't show you because I don't have enough space is that if these, now remember, they're microscopic, you can't even see them. They're not even, microscopes can't even see them. You need special types of microscopes. But if you could blow them up this large and make your electrons this large, then the space would have to be about 5 miles between these. And I obviously can't get 5 miles down the basement here. But you get the idea. Electrons orbit the nucleus. And the nucleus is made up of neutrons and protons. And electrons just dart all around it, but in 3 dimensions. Hope that helps. We're going to be having a fun video, and then we're going to spend a lot more time on this next week. So here I am, the man without the mask, trying to help explain the atom. Neutrons, protons, electrons.